All right. So go ahead and tell me why I shouldn't buy an iPad Mini 3 again.
iPad Mini, well, not you. Paul Gannon is wondering.
Oh, but, I can't. Paul can't.
Well, you can do whatever you want. Actually, Paul, you can do what you mean. I know I might seem forceful, but you're actually, yeah. So the thing is, iPad Mini 3 is basically an iPad Mini 2 with Touch ID, and you're getting a machine that is a year behind already.
So you're saying if you have to buy one, buy a 2 because it's cheaper.
Well, no. Oh yeah, exactly. If you want to buy an iPad
Mini 2,
yeah. Unless you really, really want the Touch ID, which is going to be used online only.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It's a tough choice actually, but the iPad Mini 3 really doesn't look like a
I
great
say get a Nexus 7. All right. You ready?
Wait, can I say something before you start?
Yes.
I don't feel
chair
like
recognizes Ms. Josephson.
I don't feel like I did the best possible job with the Yahoo earnings because they didn't report their earnings like in a way that made me make it sensible. I mean, I wrote it down. It's a lot of numbers. And
Look while we're doing this, look at the recode version of it, and then kind of see if there's anything extra.
Okay.
Triangulate it against that because maybe just not that much to say.
It's just gap. It's the whole gap. You know. All right.
Non-gap.
You start. All right.
All right. Here we go. Ready?
The Daily Tech News Show brought to you by patrons like my Tati. Go to dailytechnewshow.com/donate. Hey, Mr. Merrick, can I have my book?
This is the Daily Tech News for Tuesday, October 21st, 2014. I'm Tom Merritt. Joining me, my co-contributor, Patrick Beja, DTNS King in the North.
That is a title, east from you, but west from others that are really to the east.
They don't really like royalty in your country anyway, so...
That is true.
I don't want you to end up under a guillotine.
Co-contributor, does it mean that you're also a contributor? I thought you were the host.
Well,
it's getting very complicated.
I contribute and I host, right? I like the company. I like so much I bought it or something. I don't know. Anyway, Patrick Beja is here, and we've got tech headlines to give you. So here we go. Reuters reports augmented reality startup Magic Leap raised $542 million in funding, led by Google, with a nice chunk from Qualcomm. This would probably be just another startup receiving another round of funding, and we wouldn't pay much attention to it if it weren't for the mystery around Magic Leap. Do you know the mystery, Patrick?
I know it has to do with eyes and projecting things into...
It's very Clockwork Orange. Actually, very few people know what Magic Leap's product actually is, but CEO and founder Ronnie Abovitz has said Magic Leap will develop, quote, the most natural and human-friendly wearable computing interface in the world. And apparently, according to Reuters, the device will track your eyeballs and project images directly on them, meaning that images appear within the natural world rather than being projected in front of you like in an Oculus Rift. Also, Sundar Pichai, Senior Vice President of Android, Chrome, and Apps at Google, will join Magic Leap's board after this funding.
Yeah, that's also another sign that something is amok there. And I mean, $500 million is for a company that we know nothing about for the product. It's a lot of money to invest into something that how much fundamental research can you do with $500 million without anyone finding out what it's about?
I don't know if it gets rid of your urge to take part in some of the old ultra violence, which is exactly what this sounds like to me. Like Uncle's Got Milk. Yes. It's all, yeah. It does not sound very horror show.
Let's talk about something soothing, like the Federal Trade Commission.
That's what soothes me.
At PC World reports, the U.S. FTC has appointed privacy consultant Ashkan Soltani as its new chief technologist, beginning in November. Soltani is a security researcher who won the Pulitzer Prize for Public Service in 2014, along with discovered the U.S. NSA surveillance programs.
Yeah,
And
so he did some Snowden stories.
Wow.
And he's worked for the FTC before too, so they like him there apparently.
Interesting. That's the kind of thing that makes you go, which means it's interesting.
This is why every time people say, "Oh, like the government would ever hire somebody like that," I'm like, "Well, sometimes they do. I know it may be infrequent, but look, Ashton's old time hiring a guy who worked on Snowden leaks on the Washington Post to be your privacy chief technologist. That's good stuff."
Happens.
GigaOM reports China denies any involvement in the man-in-the-middle attacks taking place against Apple's iCloud within China. The attack coincided with the launch of the iPhone 6 in China, according to greatfire.org. Swedish security researchers at NetResec said the attacks seem to be performed from within China based on the number of hops and seem to be being performed on backbone networks belonging to China Telecom and China Unicom. Hua Chunying, a spokeswoman for China's foreign ministry, told journalists the government was resolutely opposed to hacking, and China Telecom also said the accusations against the government were untrue and unfounded.
Guess we'll have to take their word for it. Nielsen, the company that tracks TV ratings, has partnered with Adobe Systems to measure viewership of digital video across all internet-connected platforms. According to Reuters, this includes desktops, smartphones, tablets, game consoles, and over-the-top boxes. The system will launch in 2015 with ESPN, Turner Broadcasting, Sony's Crackle, Viacom, and Univision already signed up. So is this a thing where they're going to be doing the population to estimate all of this viewing, or do they have some secret technology that's going to be embedded in everything we do?
Well, the part with Adobe has to do with the ad tracking. The part with Nielsen could include some diaries and stuff. But really, what's significant to me about this story is that you see more and more of the ratings company that advertisers rely on saying, we're going to get you some numbers, right? We are going to find a way to track these eyeballs, because one of the reasons you haven't seen more major video online is monetization wasn't there. They're like, yeah, if somebody watches our TV show on the internet, it doesn't count. We don't get to charge the advertiser for those ratings.
It's surprising that it's taking so long. I mean, we are in a similar-ish situation in France, and it should have started being counted a while ago already.
Yeah, apparently Adobe can track viewers down to the IP level. So yeah, they're spying on you.
Pretty accurate.
The Verge reports that the best features of music service Songza, including its smart playlist creation, will now be a part of Google Play Music on Android, iOS, and the web. Google acquired Songza back in July, if you remember. An update today will add a version of Songza's concierge service, offering a colorful list of activities, like you can have a working out playlist or a sleeping playlist, which you're sleeping, so I'm not sure why you'd want that. I guess it's to put you to sleep. Studying, calling Comcast, etc. Designed to match your activities and mood, the feature is available only to All Access subscribers. That's Google All Access. But there are no ads, so that's got a plus there. A Play Music representative said it's, quote, business as usual for the standalone Songza app. So they're not killing the standalone app either, which is good.
Have you used Songza? Because I'm wondering how it is different from Spotify's curated activity playlists.
From what I've read of people who use Songza, they're like, it's much better. This is much more suited to the needs. But those are Songza enthusiasts, so maybe they just say that because they already like the service. I don't know. It reminds me more of the Beats thing, where Beats has those mood playlists.
Yeah, but the thing is, for Beats, it is actually curated. It's not it's a mix of algorithm and curation, and they actually have people behind it, and that's how they explain it. They explain it's better. I'm not sure it's how it works in the case of Songza. I'm guessing
it's a concierge. It's a French word.
Oh, all right. So it's actually a concierge who's handcrafting your playlists for every person involved.
He sits and looks at pictures of you and reads about your childhood.
Good deal.
Yeah.
All right, everyone, you can relax now. The continuity of our future timeline is assured. There will be a working hoverboard available for purchase in time for the Back to the Future, oh my God, it's the future deadline next year. GigaOM reports that a California startup called ArcsPax I just want to make sure I got it right. ArcSpax has created a board called the Hendo, which can hover 3/4 of an inch above the ground, but only on certain types of metals capable of generating a magnetic field like copper. And it definitely won't work on water. So, continuity is almost preserved. Oh yeah, and it will cost 10 grand. So the company's ultimate goal is to create a small white box that can add hovering capabilities to anything in your home, office, or museum. So hovering Mona Lisa coming in 2015. So the thing is, the hovering Mona Lisa would have to be hovering over a sheet of metal, at least, right? It needs to have the metal to repel the magnet.
Where these things are going, they'll need roads.
Right, they will need metal roads.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure exactly how. And I'm wondering. I mean, everyone has been exploding about this on Twitter and everywhere else. I'm wondering how much of this is, we have seen magnetic field repulsion hovering before. I mean, little pen toys that hover over their stand and things like that. Isn't it just because they made it into a hoverboard and showed that it kind of worked? Is it? I'm struggling.
It's that second part that's the trick, right? Having the hoverboard actually work. I think that's what catches people's eye.
It makes an awesome sound too.
Yeah. All right. Do you have pants on?
I never have pants on.
Well, put some on and hold on to them, people. Yahoo beat expectations in their Q3 earnings report announced today. TechCrunch reported that Yahoo, with sales of $1.09 billion, excluding traffic acquisition costs and non-GAAP earnings per share of 52 cents. Revenues, including acquisition costs, were $1.15 billion. Analysts were expecting, on average, non-GAAP earnings per share of 30 cents on ex-TAC sales of $1.04 billion. Yahoo stock is up more than 4% right now in after-hours trading. Now, what's Yahoo going to do with their $5 billion in Alibaba cash? The stockholders are like, right here, please. Just put it in my pockets because I have pants.
And that's why I regret not having pants as well.
Yeah, no money for you.
Yeah. Recode reports HP will demonstrate a new product called Sprout at an event in New York on October 29. According to people who've seen it, the product combines a large flat-screen display with a flat touch-enabled work surface and an overhead assembly that combines a projector and a 3D scanner. The overhead device projects images downwards onto the work surface, which users can manipulate with their hands or with a stylus. It feels like I've seen this before.
It feels like somebody at we'll see what they actually announce. All right, let's not trash a product before we even know what it is, because this is a scoop. This is an early rumor, whatever. But this description from Recode makes it sound like somebody sat in a boardroom and said, "What would make a really impressive demo?" Like, I'm not sure what to make of this in real life.
I mean, we've seen prototypes of somewhat similar things a few times, but it feels like something that you would look at in a movie and think, wow, that's the future, but would be actually kind of impractical.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's what this strikes me as. Like I said, let's wait till October 29th, see what they come out with. Time for some news from you. These are a selection of items submitted at our subreddit. What? You haven't been to the subreddit yet? Go there now. dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. And for those of you who are like, no, what are you talking about? I have been to the subreddit. Well, thank you. Thank you for going there and submitting stories and voting on the stories as well. Kylde is our janitor on the subreddit, self-described. He calls himself the janitor because he keeps the spam like almost invisible. I don't know how he does it. I think he's a magician. Anyway, Kylde pointed out a Lifehacker post about what will end up being our main discussion story today. Google is implementing a new second-factor authentication scheme called Security Key, which allows you to use a universal second-factor key, like a Yubikey, to log into your Google accounts. The key uses the open FIDO framework to authenticate you rather than having you type in numbers from an authenticator, because those could theoretically be phished. In other words, you stick a special USB key in your device and press a button, boom, you log in. For now, Security Key only works with Chrome. We're going to talk a little more about that in a bit.
Captain Kipper submitted a TechCrunch article reporting that Microsoft will drop Nokia branding from its Windows phones. The phones will now be called phones. The rebranding will begin in France and move around the world. I think it's going to propagate, because if it moves, then it won't be in France.
Oh, right.
Anymore.
Does propagate. That's a good point.
Yeah. That means the name Nokia will only be used by Nokia, which still exists as a mapping and network technology company. I believe they will be allowed to build smart phones again in 2 years, and maybe it's longer for smartphones, but I believe the name Nokia is going to come back to them ultimately, right?
Well, this was the first step, right? And there was a little hiccup in your internet. Microsoft Lumia will be the names of the Lumia phones now, if people didn't quite catch that. And that means that the Nokia name isn't used by Microsoft. And then the next step, like Patrick says, is eventually Nokia gets the right to use that name back, and eventually they get the right to do whatever they want. They have we won't make smartphones and compete with their old handset division for a period of time as part of the deal, but that deal won't last forever.
Yeah.
Hometown Rival submitted the iMore story that Apple has responded to a Washington Post story co-written by future FTC chief technologist Ashkan Sultani, by the way. The story pointed out that OS X Yosemite's Spotlight search sends data back to Apple by default. Apple said, "We limit what data is collected. We do not attach it to an IP address or any kind of persistent identifier." And Apple points out you can opt out of Spotlight suggestions, Bing, or location services for Spotlight any time you wish through your preferences.
It's really, I mean, it's for suggestions, so I think it's reasonably expected. It's reasonable to expect that they would send data, but the even more important thing there is that you can opt out of it completely and quite easily. It's just a setting in the settings. So I don't think there's a story there in the sense of outrage story.
By the way, Mark Shuttleworth at Ubuntu is just looking at this, shaking his head like, he should have talked to me first. I could have saved a lot of pain on this one. Because they went through all of this already. Yeah, I mean, that Apple's even stealing its controversies now from Linux. Ching. Just kidding. All right, that's a look at the headlines. All right, let's talk about this Yubikey thing, because when I suggested this to Patrick as a story today, I was very positive about it. I was like, look, this is great. You just, in fact, my wife who works for Google has this already because that's what they use for their corporate security. A lot of enterprises use it for corporate security, where to authenticate that you're really the person logging into the corporate network, you put in the Yubikey, and everything happens on the Yubikey, right? So you don't have to type anything in. It's public key encryption, etc. And they're now making this available for anybody. You have to go buy the device yourself. It's like an $18 key that you can purchase anywhere. You can buy one on Amazon or wherever. And then you pair it with your two-factor authentication on Google. Right now it only works with Chrome, but it's an open framework, Fido, so other browsers can implement it, things like Firefox, etc. And other companies hopefully will get on board. Thanks, Google. They would like this to become widespread. But then, Patrick, you said when we were talking about this, you're like, I'm not so sure.
Well, the thing is, I'm not really sure why this is better than existing solutions. And I understand technically why it's better. You know, it's actually on a theoretical level more secure, and it's less subject to potential attacks and phishing and all of this. But when we're talking about phishing for these, for the existing two-factor authentication authenticators, like the Google Authenticator that you can use with multiple services, it's something that needs to be phished and used within a few dozen seconds, probably. It's the window for because these codes are, you know, they're tied to an algorithm and a tied server and the synchronized time thing anyway, and they're valid for a very short amount of time, so 20 seconds more or less, or 30.
But that's all it takes,
1 minute.
man. If you click on a phishing link and you think you're at Google and you're not, and you put in your password and you put in your authenticator, that script automatically logs itself into your account with a valid credential, and then it can go turn two-factor authentication off.
I agree. In theory, again, the Yubikey type thing. Oh, by the way, Yubikey, I believe UB is for finger. because it's a Japanese name for finger.
Oh,
I think
nice.
that's why it is. Yeah. Anyway, so in theory, I understand that the security keys are safer, but you also have to weigh it against the other inconvenience of actually having to have the authenticator with you all the time, and the fact that if you don't have it, you simply cannot log in if you're not at a previously safe. Determined as safe location. And of course the authenticator, you have to have it as well, but since it's in your phone, it's, I think, much more likely that you will have it with you. And we're not talking about a third-party service like, let's say a gaming service for which you need an authenticator as well, where if you can't log in, well, you can't play, but it's not the end of the world. But not being able to log into your Google account might be an actual...
I feel you on that. Like, you're going to have to carry this thing with you, but also you can't get into your house if you don't have your key. And you don't see everyone rushing to turn their house locks into phone-enabled locks because they have their phone with them. I mean, this is something you can carry around with you. And fair enough, if you lose it, that's a bad thing, right? Just like losing your phone is a bad thing. And maybe because it's smaller and because you don't use it all the time, you're more likely to lose it. They do suggest that you actually register 2 keys. You can buy 2 keys, keep one safe. So if you do lose the second one, you can de-authenticate that one and use your spare. Like, there's ways around that.
I guess my question is, how unsafe is the existing solution now?
That is exactly the right question to ask, right? It's always convenience versus security. When you say that, sometimes you have people on the security side saying, well, what price is your security? And like you said, it depends on what you're logging into. If this is your financial information, you're going to want to put up with a lot of inconvenience. If you're talking about logging into Elo right now, I'm not really... I'm not really wanting to put up with a lot of inconvenience. But here's the thing. If you can keep this thing like tied to your phone, or there can be an implementation that would use NFC on your phone, and maybe that could work somehow with a computer or something like that. That's not in the framework right now. But if you could make it so that, like, this is normal, like you always have this key with you, just like your house keys, and then all you have to, now it's easier because I don't have to pull out a phone and open an authenticator app. I don't have to pull out a separate dongle. I don't even have to have a phone. I don't have to type in anything because the way this...
Dad, can you loan me a buck,
sorry.
please?
Yeah, sure. I can loan you a buck later.
Some people disagree with you, Tom.
All
and
the
I
children.
agree with their disagreement.
So here, but let me finish that sentence, then I'll let you talk,
Sure.
and let the children talk. so the thing is, like, I log in, right? Name, password, plug in a USB key, and press a button. Done. I'm done. It's actually easier and more secure because it's public key encryption, and the authentication happens on the chip. It's not in a place where something could be phished. It makes sure, like, am I actually talking to Google? Yes, I am. Okay, good. Then I'm going to authenticate you.
So I understand, I mean, there are words coming out of your mouth, and I understand all of the words that you're saying, and they make sense, and I put them together in my brain, and they make sense, right? I still, and I'm almost convinced, there's still a part of my brain that thinks, so I'm using LastPass and I'm randomizing my passwords and everything. And you still have people, when I'm doing that, with a 2-factor authentication, by the way, through the Google Authenticator. And even then, I still have people who are telling me, well, you still have this one password for LastPass, which is sort of unsafe. Yeah. I guess there are 2 things I'm wondering. Aren't there potential points of failure for this system as well? Sure. And also, how much of it is isn't at some point the security good enough that we don't necessarily need to go farther if it's a little bit inconvenient? And, I understand that ultimately, I think you convinced me, so I'm playing devil's advocate now. I think I would like to have this key that I keep with my keys that I always have with me, especially if there's NFC there. But yeah, the 2 remaining questions are still there.
I think that's a very good question. I think it is the right question to ask. People don't want to raise that question of, is this worth the inconvenience? Because it almost sounds, if you're a security professional, like you're advocating irresponsibility. You're telling people, don't worry about it that much, right? And that is not true. If you want to give out in general to the masses the most secure advice, then you would say, always use two-factor authentication, right? But if you're talking individually to a sensible person that can think for themselves, right? Like you and I are talking, then you want to say like, well, yeah, you probably don't need two-factor authentication on every single account. That's overkill, right? You might want it on the accounts that would be the most damaging because it is a little more of an inconvenience. On the other hand, here's where I'm going with this. It's a little less convenient than not having two-factor authentication. I think Yubikey is actually more convenient than using an authenticator app or even an authenticator fob that gives you a one-time code that you put in, because you don't have to put in that code. You just put in the authenticator key. I use one myself, and it's really simple. However, what would be better is if you didn't have to use that at all, right? And that's UAF. That UAF is part of the FIDO framework, where an UAF stack is installed on a client device, say your phone. Then you present local biometric, or maybe a PIN, or maybe an eye scan to register and authenticate. In fact, Knock Knock Labs has a multi-factor authenticator that integrates with FIDO and Touch ID. Touch ID and FIDO don't get along, but this one from Knock Knock Labs will unify the two so that on my phone, at least, I don't have to put in a password at all. I've already pre-authenticated. I know it's me. I have a secure stack that's making sure to use public key encryption, and I'm using my thumb to log in, right? So is that 100% secure? No, but that is more secure than not having two-factor authentication, and it can be done on the device. If you can do that on my desktop now as well, if you could do that on my laptop as well, if you can get browsers to support it, we could be moving towards a world where all of this ridiculous password management starts to go away. And that's a future I would like to explore. I don't think we're there yet, but this to me is so heartening because it's a step on popularizing this so that people get used to it and go, oh, okay, Yubikey, I'm used to that. And now when they say, well, now it's built in to your device, oh, okay, it's just not, I don't have to actually stick the thing in there anymore. Great.
Yeah, I'd be up for that for sure. And I mean, even the Yubikey, as long as when I stick it into the USB port, it doesn't install for 15 minutes and try to find the thing.
No, because there's no drivers, no software. That's the best part about it. All of that happens in the browser. If Chrome is built to handle it, it just looks at the key and goes, oh, okay, that's your public key. Great, thanks. Boom.
So Chrome is built to see the USB port directly, and it doesn't need any driver.
It's built to recognize the Yubikey, yeah.
Right. But I mean, the computer itself doesn't need to do something to recognize the Yubikey.
No.
It doesn't need to install drive. Okay, well then, I think it might indeed be interesting, and if that paves the way for something even better, which is this arcane UAF thing you've been talking about, I can get on board.
All right, now we will wait for the emails to tell us what we missed. But it's good. I think it's great that Google's doing this. I don't want to be a Google fanboy here. We should also point out that Duo Security announced authentication support for UTF today as well. They're an enterprise level security firm. They have a ton of big clients. That's almost a bigger announcement than Google because it's going to put a lot more of this in implementation across devices. But it's great for consumers that Google is doing this now, not just for their corporate center, but for you as a regular user.
And to be fair, it's usually that kind of thing that starts. It's like Apple doing Apple Pay. This could start, and Google has been incredibly influential in the browser space. So it could completely start a radical movement for security in general. So yeah, that would be good.
Let's take a look at the calendar. Tomorrow, Wednesday, October 22nd, is Twitter's Mobile Development Conference in San Francisco. I think it's their first mobile developer conference called Twitter Flight, which certainly doesn't sound at all like Twitter Fight or Twitter Fright, because it is October. And tomorrow we get earnings from AT&T and Yelp. Our pick of the day is, appropriately enough, an authenticator, the G-Auth authenticator. This one comes from Stephen Funkhauser. He says, I agree with your skepticism about using a tool like Authy that syncs your second factor authentication keys between machines. Security and convenience are always at odds, as we were just talking about. And in this case, we don't know enough about Authy to trust them blindly, so I personally use G-Auth Authenticator as a Chrome extension. There's a Firefox one available as well. It's open source with a public repo on GitHub. It stores your key data locally, so only you have it. I also like to back up the text version of my second factor keys in LastPass in the notes section under each account record. Thanks for a wonderful and insightful podcast. Oh, well, that's very nice of you, Stephen. So there you go. If you're not using Yubikey, or you need to use an authenticator for a bunch of other sites that don't use Yubikey, you might want to check out G-Auth Authenticator for Firefox and or Chrome.
The only problem I see there is that you need to be in front of your computer to use the authenticator, right?
Well, that was the complaint that we were responding to, right? Was the people like, well, I don't want to use my phone for that, or I don't have a phone.
Right.
It's like, well, here you go. Here's another authenticator that you can use. Send your picks to feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com, and you can find my picks at dailytechnewsshow.com/picks. We should get a picks section together for you, Patrick. I didn't think about that till just now. Send me some picks.
I will strive to get more picks. Oh, by the way, one of my, I guess you discussed it before, but one of my all-time favorite picks, Alien Blue, which is a Reddit client for iPad, and which I was advocating for Reddit to buy, has been
They listened to you.
bought last week. Very happy. I don't know if they listened to me, but they saw the greatness that I described as well.
Our messages of the day. We got 3 of them. Let's get through them here. The first one comes from Stephen in Melbourne, Australia, with a plea.
Hey, Tom, Jenny, and awesome guest. This is Stephen from Melbourne, Australia. In regards to Apple Pay, Australia's been set up for Apple Pay for quite a few years. We've had NFC at nearly all cash registers in petrol stations, convenience stores, supermarkets. The banks all support chip and PIN in all the credit cards, I think, except for American Express, which don't seem to have chips in their cards. So launch Apple Pay in Australia, Apple, and you'll have lots of people using their new iPhone 6s and 6 Pluses. Thanks.
Yeah, just having NFC-capable terminals doesn't make Apple Pay work, does it?
And it's also assuming, he's saying launch Apple Pay in Australia and you'll have lots of people using Apple Pay. That assumes that there are lots of people in Australia.
Or that Australia is a real country and that you're not just imagining it, Stephen. Tony B said, I've been using Google Wallet for a while now.
I love Australia. Sorry, I
know.
didn't mean to. Yes.
Tony B wants to put in a vote for Google Wallet. I talked about the first time I used Google Wallet and how it didn't work perfectly out of the gate, although it worked okay, and how Apple Pay just worked ridiculously perfectly out of the gate yesterday. Tony B says, I've been using Google Wallet for a while now, and I love it. I started using it to help budget money, as I could just transfer funds from my checking account to my wallet balance. I pay with NFC on my Moto X at the local grocery store, and it works quickly and easily. For vendors that don't support NFC payments, I have my physical Google Wallet card. I even pay my rent by transferring money from my account to my landlord's. You have a cool landlord. Thanks, Tony B. Yeah, you know what? I actually have one of those Google Wallet cards as well. I never think to use it, though. I have a problem. Google Wallet doesn't work for me for some reason. It's a personal problem. It's user error.
I think it's
sure.
Well, it is. I don't think you can say it's user error in this case. There's a lot of. It works a lot for a lot of people, I'm sure, but there is this. Again, it has to be better than what is already in place in order for it to take off in the consumer space in general. And I don't think Google Wallet has reached that level of convenience yet.
Well, Tony would disagree with you. Tony's saying, look, man, I just pull my Moto X at the grocery store and boom, I pay and I'm gone.
I understand, but I think it works for him. I'm not sure explaining all of this would work for a regular person. Right. You know, I mean, you have to set it up, and then you have, if it doesn't work, you have the card, then you also have to have the thing that has NFC and that has, and I understand Apple Pay is kind of the same, but it's got that extra layer of acceptance and universality in marketing.
It's a little there's that. It's also a little quicker because it doesn't have to process the payment. Google Wallet is not just the token; it's also the storage of your value, right? And that makes a difference. Sometimes. For Tony, though, apparently it doesn't make a difference enough to matter, right? Here's one for you, though, Mr. Apple Pay fan. John Nooncaster says, okay, I was listening to you and Jenny with your new tax accounting with Tom and Jenny in the post show yesterday. How do you get a refund if you want to return an item bought with Apple Pay if there's no identifiable information? Now, I've got my receipt from Apple Pay here, right here, right? So that's fine. This receipt looks just like any other receipt. It doesn't have my real credit card number. It only has the last 4 numbers, but it does exist, right? So I can show them the receipt, show them the product. The trick is, how are they going to know what credit card to refund to? And my guess, you got a guess?
Well, I would say you need to find the transaction in your Apple Pay history somewhere to justify it.
I think if you've got the paper receipt and I say, I don't like these 3 oranges, I want to return them. I think you
then something else, right?
You show them the product, you show them the receipt, and then they say, do you have the card that you used to buy it? You say, no, I used Apple Pay. Then probably, I'm just guessing here, and if this isn't true, this is the way it should work, they have a system that says, oh, okay, well, authenticate your Apple Pay. And then you get the same procedure as buying something. It would say, "Would you like to use Apple Pay?" And you'd press your thumb down, and then they would refund you the money that way. So that's your card.
Yeah, probably.
It should.
It's an interesting question, and yeah, I'm not sure. I'm sure we're gonna discover a bunch of inconveniences with Apple Pay as well. It's a new and different system, as with all of these contactless payment things. There are things that need to be worked out. So not so much of a fan of Apple Pay on principle. I just want to
all right,
put it out there.
Yeah, because I just accused you of being one, so that's fair. Well, thank you, Patrick Beja. Patrick is on at least once a week, usually on Tuesdays. Twitter.com/notpatrick to follow him, and FrenchSpin.com to find his other podcasts.
Yes, FrenchSpin.com is currently in under construction, as we would say in the 90s on the web. I switched my French shows to FrenchSpin.fr.
Okay.
And FrenchSpin.com is probably going to see stuff happening very soon. So
yeah. Check it out, FrenchSpin.fr if you want the French ones, or FrenchSpin.com to see what's coming soon. I know a little bit about what's coming soon, and it's cool. So you just better bookmark that. Since we're talking 90s, bookmark that in your Netscape browser. Thank you to our patrons, 4,456 of you, getting us within $600 of being able to bring another contributor on, Mr. Justin Robert Young. So thank you to all of you who've upped your donations lately. You guys are amazing. I'm blown away every time I see that on Twitter, somebody saying, hey, I want Justin on the show. I've upped my donation. Really super appreciate that. DailyTechNewsShow.com/donate to find the link to our Patreon or any of the other ways to support the show. Don't forget, you can have a voice in what stories we cover at our subreddit, dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. You can email us. Our email address is feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. Our phone number is 512-59-DAILY. That's 512-593-2459. And you can listen to the show live at mobile.alphageekradio.com or check out the in-beta alphageekvideo.com as well. Our website is dailytechnewsshow.com. We'll be back with Eric Franklin, co-host of CNET's The Fix and section editor for How To and Tablets. See you tomorrow.
About this and other shows, visit frogpants.com. Audio program so good, it's like you're there.
Addendum. Sebgon says from Apple support, the cashier can use the device account number to find the purchase and process the return, just like they would with a traditional card or debit card payment. To see the last 4 digits of the device account number, go to Passbook, tap the card, and tap I.
Problem solved.
Boom. Thank you, Sebgons. Good research. Communicator, Paul Gannon. Actually, I was very much a Netscape Communicator user. I liked to use Netscape Communicator Edit to work on my web pages because it was fast, even though it messed with the code.
When's the first time you built a website?
1996.
Wow. I think you... Wait, do you have...
What?
Maybe Street Fighter Alpha released.
What?
Street Fighter Alpha, because I had a...
You did a fan site?
Yeah, a fan site about like translations of 95. Holy crap! I mean, poop.
I didn't build web pages. I was strictly on Usenet before 1996.
Oh. See, I was using Minitel.
Ah.
Well, not 1996.
I eschewed the graphical web. Like, look, if I want to go to the web, I can use links. Why do I need to get a browser and pay ridiculous prices for a non-shell account? A shell account gets me everything I need.
Gets me everything I need, man.
That was 25-year-old Tom Merritt talking right there.
I remember when I first saw a web page. It was magical.
Yeah.
It was in 1992 on Mosaic at university. It was amazing. And
my first web page, I think, was in 94, and it was IMDb. I remember that.
I didn't believe it was actually distant, not local images being loaded. It was just mind-blowing.
Yeah. And then once I gave up my $9 a month CCSI shell account and went for an actual 26.6, I think, modem is what I had, or 26.8. What is it? It was 14.4.
28.6.
28.6. There we go. It wasn't a 14.4. It was a 28.6. And then I actually created my first website in 1996.
So what was it
find
about?
it if you go to subbrilliant.com/yourpag2.html. I have preserved it, although the images are all broken now.
Subbrilliant.com/
yourpag2 yourpag2.html.
Ooh, this is exciting. Oh, Subbrilliant has 2 L's.
Yes, 2 B's, 2 L's.
Wow, that is a web page.
Now, it used to have a brick background, and then that broken image in the middle was a word that I had turned into an image so that it would stand out.
So what's it about?
It's parody news. It was the parody news zine that I had done and then converted into a Usenet group, and this was its third incarnation as a website.
Interesting. Do I still have my old stuff?
I did find one of my tripod sites had been preserved at archive.org. We were looking at this stuff in the chat room after the show a while back.
Tripod sites?
Yeah. Did you ever use Tripod? It was like GeoCities. It's actually still around. It's a B2B site now.
Okay. No.
Yeah. So GeoCities, when it went away, they didn't capture a lot of them for some reason. But Tripod, they did.
Wait, I found my old site, index.
No kidding.
HTML. I have it on, well, it's not on the web.
Oh, you found it locally, though? You have a copy of it on your...
Oh, it's so fancy. I have like tables and images and wow. Wait, can I share this?
We need a title, too.
Oh, right. Yes, there's work.
But while you figure out sharing, Jenny, do we have a consensus title?
Well, I love Seb Gonz's title, Where We're Going, We'll Need Roads.
Metal Roads. That was, by the way, Jenny's joke that she had written and then I'd taken out and then I stole. So I just want to give her credit for that.
It's cool. We also have hoverboard, BORED, from BioCow. I'm also a fan of my cows. Yahoo beats expectations. Expectations
Patience
astonished. Warms my cold, dead heart a little bit.
That's pretty good too.
And Fido, the key
Key
retriever
yeah.
from
Yeah.
Tinvac. Google's new security is fabulous.
Fabulous. I like that
Yeah.
one. I saw that one go by.
Fabulous. I love a good pun.
Patrick, do you have a favorite?
Honestly, I think I like where we're going. We'll need roads.
All right.
But,
Let's do it.
yeah.
Because obviously we're not getting flying cars by 2015 in any usable capacity.
Yeah, that's true. But I think the hoverboard is the only one that actually matters.
Yeah, it's true. They need
So-
power.
It's not you, Patrick. It's your kids.
So wait, if I share my
It gives you a choice, I think, about whether you want to share a window or your whole screen.
yeah. I just want to make sure I'm not doing
Yeah, I
something
know.
silly.
Right. Here's my home address and my bank account number and my French social security number.
And all of that.
I am exporting files. The files will export in approximately 28 seconds.
Why are you a robot?
I don't know. Why would robots talk like that? That's the other question.
Did you see the robot that is playing in a...
When you want to support independent project.
That's playing what?
he was an actor in a play.
Oh, yes. I
There's-
marked that for
there's-
Current
sorry,
Geek,
there.
actually.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
that's a good one.
know
I
what?
have Current Geek.
Current Geek.
Scott Johnson is looking for someone who's available to be on Current Geek on Friday. He's probably going to hate that I said that.
This
'cause now a bunch
Friday?
of people he doesn't want will email him.
This Friday.
Yeah.
What time?
Late for you. It's 4 p.m.
Very late.
Pacific. So like
'Cause
2 hours from now.
2 hours from now. Oh, wow. So it's 1 a.m.
Yeah.
for me.
Super late.
Because I'm...
You want to be doing other things at 1 a.m. on a Friday, like drinking, I would imagine, in a
Please
cafe.
Do that and do Current Geek. If you're going to be awake,
I'm going to
Current
be at a
Geek's not-
conference in Switzerland, so...
we don't have to be super responsible on Current Geek. Yeah, no. It's way late.
But, yeah, probably not. Okay. Can I do this?
Keep feeling fascination.
I think I just put my old website online.
Whoa. You republished after all these years?
Yes.
Everybody wants to know about autopilot.
Yep, it'll come back. I was just typing Fred. It was
was-
seasonal.
I'm sad. if
Remember
a day
how
goes
long you had to
by.
wait between those 2 seasons of Breaking Bad? Yeah, it's
Oy.
like that. Except not as good. I mean, nothing's as good as Breaking
Why
Bad.
is it not working? Index.html.
Did you overwrite FrenchSpin.com with it?
No.
I wonder
Not
if
that
Recode is
bad
still
at
down.
retailing.
Recode was working for me.
It's weird. All my sites worked fine, and Recode wouldn't load, and it's still not. Oh no! Now it's loading slowly.
Ooh, I see.
Of course, because you said something about it.
Yeah. I was like, "Ooh, did they get
capitalization?
But I think what you wrote there
Still
was
not
great.
loading for me.
You can just like leave out some of that tack.
Yeah. See, my
Stuff.
issue is because I'm dumb when it comes to money and earnings and Wall Street stuff, which is why I'm probably no longer employed at Yahoo. Anyway, I understand in theory what I don't understand it enough, the Wall Street earnings things, to be able to take things out, to be able to substantively reduce it to a simple, nice sentence, other
But-
than hold on to your pants, they beat earnings.
Right. If you say, hold on, the pants to beat earnings, this was their revenue, this was their earnings per share, and you did the right thing because they said this is their non-GAAP and this is their non-GAAP. You leave that in.
See, like when they break it down like that, it's hard for me to find. I was looking for the recode thing and I wouldn't load, but it's one of those things that like I don't intuitively know it well enough to simplify it into something that's human.
Gotcha.
Instead of Wall Streetese.
Human. There is no human on Wall Street.
Right.
I have the rich.
I have my site. It's online. I'm very excited.
Oh, where do we go? Where do we go? Where do we go?
Right. I'm going to put it in the chat room. Is that right? Yes. Right. This is the first website I ever built.
Street Fighter Zero homepage. Ooh, and your background works. So it looks... I probably went to this site. This looks so familiar. Like, just... it's so of its time. That's awesome.
Yeah, isn't it? And look at all like the images and like there's street like technical sheet and like the image, the titles, like to know more about the game, which is like super well rendered. Alan Kim's FAQ. Official Japanese name lists. I was studying Japanese
so
at the time.
1995, but
Isn't it?
It's really good for 1995, right? Like, not a ton of animated GIFs. There's no blink tags. Like, it's like a well-designed page of its time. It's awesome.
Well, I was studying Japanese and I did the official Japanese names. I was distributing this on the news groups. And so I have like the pronunciation for all the names of the moves in Japanese, and like I had so much time to waste.
That's awesome.
So there you go. This is my first web page, and I have a web counter as well, which doesn't work.
Oh, I think mine still works.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know if it was on that your peg because I don't think I'd added it yet. But if you go to subreddit.com/news. And then you click on one of the older archive pages, like 2007 maybe. No, you have to go back to 93. Yeah, down in the bottom left, there's a site meter. Total page views of 372,994. Average per day, 1.
That is some hardcore stuff.
Sitemeter.com is still around. That's crazy.
For appreciating this effort. Thanks, Taxi Cab.
That's the other thing I would have put in now that the Wall Street Journal has put theirs out is about the mobile sales numbers that they put out for the first time, and that it was, a small number, but they project a bigger number, like mobile and also
that's like the icing.
Down.
Like that would have been great to have that. I don't feel bad that it wasn't there, but yeah, you're identifying the right, like push it up a notch kind of thing.
I mean, it's so funny because this is actually the one company I know.
Yeah.
Display was down 5%.
Oh no. Because the big thing the big thing was the cash. Like, what are you guys going to do with the cash, Marissa? Because you've got all this cash and we don't think you're spending it right with all your acquisitions. So yeah.
Still a Marissa Meyer fan. And that's saying something.
Today's a big moment for her.
Mm-hmm.
See, I told you it could work. No, I'm being Marissa Meyer.
You know what? She showed up on a tennis court in our Santa Monica office, like 8 months pregnant, and spoke because like some bigger conference room inside was booked by some massive event. Talked to us for 2 hours and answered like everybody's questions. And I just thought, all right, I buy in. So that's my Marissa Meyer insight for today.
So if you want to win Jenny over, you have to speak to her for 2 hours on a tennis court. Is what this means. Yeah, while pregnant. First of all, step 1, get pregnant. Step 2, find a tennis court.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. What else is going on? What else?
I think I just published the podcast, but I forgot to check and make sure it was working right.
Doodly-doo.
Okay, it works. The Daily Tech News Show.
Poison.
Thanks, Big Jim. Hey, thanks, Sam, for me, Big Jim.
Oh my
If
gosh.
you're still in there.
That was a dangerous sounding open. I'm taking over the post. Can I do it?
Yeah. Hold on a second. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes,
all-
Ken from Chicago is right. Marissa saved community. And that's still also pretty impressive.
So, well, Big Jim, then you're not going to be able to win Jenny over if you're not going to get pregnant. Just saying.
I believe the statement that you can take out of that is if you try really hard to communicate to all your people when you first show up and you don't just sit in some office and proclaim things, but you really come down and you talk to all your people and you answer all your questions, then I like you, even if you lay me off.
There you go. That's our upbeat message of the day. Bye, video, folks. Hope you enjoyed this. We will see you soon.